All right, good morning or good afternoon. This is the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission. It is Tuesday, June 27th. We have a singular item on our agenda. Before we get to that, we will do a roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Ackerman, Commissioner Cross,
Present.
Commissioner McGowan,
Here.
Commissioner Mesner,
Here.
Commissioner Oath, Commissioner Ray, Commissioner Robbins.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have 5 commissioners who are present. Commissioner Oath, there we are.
Sorry about
Sure.
that. Had some audio issues. I'm present.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, you have 5 out of 7 commissioners present.
Great. Thank you very much. And Commissioner Ackerman is away doing COGCC business today. And so we do have a quorum. This is a specially scheduled agenda. This is to take up docket 2208-00210. It is an oil and gas development plan for extraction. And so with that, if we could elevate the panel on this matter, I believe we're going to hear from Ms. Fulcher.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Great to see you. I am just giving it a minute here to make sure that our panelists are with us and properly elevated. So if you bear with me, we'll make sure everyone's here. All right, looks like I see Mr. Bennett and Mr. McKee will be running the PowerPoint for us today. Just as a quick update for the commissioners, there's a few of our witnesses that you've seen in the past, Mr. Annabelle and Kathy Stearman, and neither of those folks are going to be with us today. Unfortunately, they're out of the office on other work. They might actually be listening in, so but I don't know that they have full access to Wi-Fi, and they're on paid leave. So I just wanted to give you that quick update. So you'll be hearing instead for Mr. Bennett today. We do have a presentation for you that we shared a few weeks back. So what we'd like to do is just take a few minutes here at the outset to walk through that material for you. And so Ryan, if you want to start your share screen, and I will kick us off, and then Mr. Bennett will roll through the slides.
Thank you, Ms. Fulcher, for the introduction. Procedurally, just to remind ourselves and the witness that he was previously sworn in and remains sworn in for today's meeting. And I also would note procedurally that Commissioner Ray is with us. Hello, Commissioner Ray. Thanks for participating. So we do have 6 out of 7 commissioners in attendance for this hearing today. And with that, I see that you've got share screen going. It is not in presentation mode, just FYI.
Yep, Ryan, you want to start it from the beginning at the very top there? I don't want to speak out of turn, but I have a feeling that it's an issue of sharing the right screen. But all right, if it's not going to be too much of a distraction to you all there. Oh, looks like he's going to reset this here.
Okay, let's try to reboot.
1 second. Yeah.
If not, you can leave it in non-presentation, and we'll be able to get through it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. All right, there we go. And that way, hopefully that's a little bit easier to view there. All right, well, thank you again, Chair and Commissioners, and good afternoon. Jill Fulcher with Beatty and Wozniak here on behalf of Extraction Oil and Gas in the matter of the Koolstra 4N 68W West OGDP application. And the chair read off the docket. It's 2208-00210. As you know, this is a matter that was first heard or taken up at the May 31st hearing and then continued again June 14th to this special hearing today. A lot of ground was covered at that May 31st hearing, and questions and comments were issued. Additional requests were made. Extraction appreciates all of the feedback received on this docket and has made best efforts to address additional information requested, press suppliers and contractors for additional commitments, and improve upon proposed BMPs to address commissioner concerns. The results of these efforts are summarized in this supplemental presentation, which has been posted to the public access portal and shared with the commission staff. And the applicable information and new BMPs or updated BMPs have also been shared with CDPHE and with the relevant local governments and the relevant residential building unit owners, which you'll hear a little bit more about. Extraction did also meet with staff following the second supplemental director's recommendation, and that meeting occurred last week. Mr. Bennett will cover that meeting in a little more detail, but the outstanding issues regarding, in particular, the water resources data and the flow path to the Little Thompson River have been resolved, and it's Extraction's belief that staff's concerns have been addressed. So we'll talk more about that, I'm sure. Ryan, you want to go to the next slide? There are 3 BMPs that will be addressed as part of this presentation that do bear highlight here at the outset of today's discussion. First, Extraction is proposing a modified BMP as it relates to the drilling engine following that May 31st hearing and very recent commitments that were able to be made by Caterpillar regarding advanced mitigation. So as you will hear today in today's presentation, Extraction is proposing language that will commit it to nothing less than using a tier 2 natural gas powered engine with a battery assist within the Koolstra OGDP, and that is if a tier 4 engine is not available. Using that tier 2 engine with the battery assist and natural gas power will minimize drilling emissions by approximately 44% over a traditional tier 2 engine. This will also eliminate all diesel fuel and will result in less equipment on site. So we're very, very pleased to be able to make that commitment. Extraction regrets, of course, that we weren't able to make that commitment on May 31st or even earlier in the process, but again, is very pleased that we were able to work with Caterpillar and make that commitment here. Second, Extraction has worked with suppliers in the days following that May 31st hearing and has secured commitments to use of Group 3 drilling mud here. So prior to this hearing, we were planning to use Group 2 mud with a chiller. Group 3 mud will be used. So that's an update from May 31st. Finally, Extraction modified the traffic and noise best management practice at the chair's request to include ongoing consultation with the RBU owner that's just outside of 2,000 feet from the working pad surface. That would be the Bentleys. So if you hear us referring to the Bentleys, that's that RBU owner. And so now we're proposing some additional language that has been reviewed also by staff and is supported by staff. And that language, in addition to the continuous check-ins, will also commit to installing temporary sound walls along portions of their access road that's close to their home and eliminating any use of Jake brakes during the first 6 months of production. Extraction had a significant additional consultation with the Bentleys in the immediate days following the May 31st hearing. You'll hear more about that, but they're supportive of the adoption of this language. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Bennett, and he'll take you through the next several slides.
Thank you, Ms. Fulcher. Good afternoon, commissioners. Following the May 31st hearing, we took your advice and sat down again with the residents located northeast of the location and had a conversation lasting approximately 90 minutes, wherein we discussed our planned operations, associated best management practices, and their mineral ownership within the proposed development area. They were satisfied with our proposed best management practices and agreed with our outreach commitments. This BMP language was provided to staff for review, and no comments or questions were received. Additionally, the temporary increase in truck traffic originating from the MLD 22-A pad during flowback was communicated to Weld County in the town of Berthoud. Weld County did not have any concerns, while the town of Berthoud indicated that a road maintenance agreement would be required. That process has been initiated, and we expect to receive the agreement for review and execution in early July. There has been a flurry of activity since the May 31st hearing, resulting in the finalization of a partnership to improve our drilling power supply kit. There will be information provided today that stems from prior plans and the related questions asked during earlier proceedings. Since then, CIVITAS has been able to secure a new power supply kit that will be delivered later this year and utilized at Koolstra. Since the initial docket, we have had multiple meetings with the large engine manufacturer who is providing the power kit and have engaged in technical discussions regarding how the power kit will run, what catalysts will be included, and the catalyst and reduction spec sheets. While the slides refer to the power kit as a natural gas generator with battery backup, the kit runs very much like a hybrid vehicle. At the heart of the system is a smart energy management application that ensures the generators only cascade on when the demand is required and functions in such a manner that those generators do not run underloaded, thereby forcing the generators to run most efficiently as designed under full load. The energy management system also prevents generator idling. The following slide details the emission profile for this power kit and demonstrates that it is competing with a Tier 4 generator package. This power kit eliminates the need to use diesel fuel during drilling. This information was shared with COGCC and CDPHE staff, neither of which expressed any concerns or indicated any further action is warranted. The emission profiles for the menu items contemplated at the May 31st hearing are shown on this slide. The power kit that XOG is committing to employ at Koolstra is highlighted in green. It is important to note that during the initial hearing, we presented total NOx emissions for pre-production to better align the audience with a particular reportable category in the Form 2B titled Non-Road Internal Combustion Engines. As this commission knows, this categorical item in the Form 2B aggregates some pre-production emissions. With the focus around drilling engine emissions during our last conversation, the call out in this graph specifically breaks out drilling emissions for a variety of power kits. You may note that even when using a straight Tier 2 diesel power kit, drilling emissions are approximately 20% of the total pre-production profile. Focusing on the second bar from the left, labeled Tier 2 natural gas plus battery, we use the predicted number of days it will take to drill the wells at Koolstra and the actual emission profile presented by the manufacturer to estimate with reasonable certainty a reduction in drilling NOx emissions from approximately 21.5 tons to approximately 11.9 tons for the project. This is an estimated 44% reduction in NOx emissions relative to the original Tier 2 proposal. As stated, we will indeed be able to bring 2 menu items to Koolstra by using this independent power kit. We expect this upgrade to reduce drilling NOx by almost half, which aligns not only with our company goals, but more importantly, the goals of this commission and its sister agency. The use of this power kit brings more certainty to our emission predictions and will still be partnered with electrification of the existing HFE and MLD locations. CIVITAS proposes the BMP language on this slide and commits to utilizing a Tier 2 natural gas generator with battery assist during drilling at the proposed Koolstra location. CIVI's proposed BMP language is meant to emphasize that the company will continue evaluating and pursuing Tier 4 engines and will use a Tier 4 engine for Koolstra if it is available to deploy by the time the Koolstra wells are drilled. CIVI shared this proposed BMP language with Rick Coffin of CDPHE prior to the June 4th hearing. Mr. Coffin appreciated the additional consultation and commitments and expressed no concerns with this language as part of the additional consultation. In additional meetings with COGCC staff also did not express continued concerns regarding this proposed language. On behalf of CIVITAS, thank you for considering our menu options. We believe optionality, such as what was contained within our menu, brings about a lot of innovation and ideas. Having options also allows us to consider other variables like equipment footprint, co-benefits like sound and aesthetics, and critical information such as lead times. We felt it was important to show this map one more time to accurately demonstrate pre-production NOx totals at Koolstra with the NOx emission reductions at the HFE and MLD locations following electrification for a 30-year projection. This heat map underscores that electrifying the HFE and MLD pads is anticipated to offset all NOx pre-production emissions from the Koolstra XOG 21 pad and will result in a net reduction of NOx emissions over the life of the locations, which will be discussed more in the next slide. CIVITAS was asked to present a balance sheet to compare projected emissions. The resulting graph was built on NOx emissions during drilling as well as NOx emissions at the HFE and MLD facilities. This balance sheet does, in fact, reflect the natural gas plus battery power kit that will be used at Koolstra and not the prior option. Local NOx emissions, when comparing drilling emissions to facility electrification, break even as early as February 2025, or a little over 1 year after drilling. As has previously been mentioned, extraction met with staff and was able to reach mutual consensus on how best to address stormwater discharge or other flow regimes during both normal conditions and high water flood events. I would like to thank Ms. Trask, Mr. Noto, and Ms. Weber for their time and input in reaching this accord. Corrections that were noted previously by the director and staff have been made, and it is my understanding that the director and staff are satisfied with the changes made by Extraction. Additional information intended to address concerns identified in the director's recommendation was provided to staff. This information includes, but is not limited to, firm commitments to install SCADA and remote shut-in systems, the utilization of IOGP Group 3 drilling fluids, and updating several CDPHE BMPs. This information was communicated to COGCC and CDPHE staff. There were no questions or other concerns as a result of these updates. With that, I would like to turn the presentation back over to Ms. Fulcher.
Thanks, Mr. Bennett. Next slide, Ryan. All right, just a couple more slides for you. One thing to point out, I think we've been the process of the OGDP process rather has been underway for a little more than 2.5 years post-mission change. I think we have all learned a tremendous amount in that time, but we continue to learn a lot, and that's no different here. So CIVITAS does appreciate all of the input received during this process and will work to implement planning and process changes in light of the feedback that was received and the learnings that were made here in this process. One example we did want to share with the commissioners is that even now CIVITAS has changed its own plans and processes to require consultation with all residential building unit owners and tenants that are within 500 feet of a planned access road. And will now also always commit to following up and having more consultations with those folks regarding traffic, noise, and those types of BMPs that come out of the technical review prior to hearing. So did want to report that to you all. And then last slide, please, Ryan. So this is the last one from us today. Again, the commission has heard a lot of information, taken a lot of evidence and testimony over the last month on this docket. So we wanted to take a final opportunity to synthesize a lot of what you've heard and to walk through some of the ways in which the Koolstra OGDP avoids, minimizes, and mitigates potential impacts to the public, environment, and wildlife in satisfaction of the Act and your rules. So again, synthesizing a lot of the information you've heard today. So with respect to avoiding impacts, and I shouldn't say today, over the course of the last month, the Koolstra OGDP utilizes an existing location and that associated infrastructure for production facilities and equipment. So this measure eliminates additional ground disturbing impacts to the public, environment, and wildlife. The locations are also outside of high priority habitat, and the OGDP is located more than 8 miles from the nearest disproportionately impacted community. Where potential impacts cannot be completely avoided, the Koolstra OGDP contains measures to minimize the extent and severity of potential impacts from operations. The Koolstra XOG 21 pad, which is the only new proposed pad in the OGDP, is located as far as possible from residential building units while still accommodating the surface owner's agricultural operations. The MLD pad will be enhanced to highline electric power that cuts combustion emissions by 100%, which will minimize air emissions to nearby residents and have a prolonged benefit to regional air quality. Tier 4 frac engines will be used for completions. And if a Tier 4 drilling engine is not available prior to spud, Extraction is committing to use of nothing less than the Tier 2 natural gas powered engine with battery assist. And as you heard from Mr. Bennett, that includes a lot of benefits, including minimizing NOx by almost half over a traditional Tier 2 engine. And then finally, Group 3 drilling mud will be used to minimize odor impacts. Lastly, with respect to mitigation, the Koolstra OGDP contains mitigations to further reduce the extent and severity of potential impacts, including replacing tanks with maintenance vessels at the MLD location, constructing those temporary sound walls along the access road near the Bentley home, and then plugging and abandoning 2 legacy wells within the OGDP and removing the vintage equipment associated with those existing wells. Finally, it bears repeating that no party has petitioned against approval of the Koolstra OGDP, including the relevant and proximate local governments and RBU owners. Weld County has issued an approved WOGLA permit for the Koolstra XOG 21 pad. That permit does include a floodplain development permit for the site, which was reviewed by Weld County civil engineer. And Extraction provided those additional air BMPs to CDPHE, and CDPHE has expressed no further concern. And again, we're pleased to report that we had a very positive meeting last week with staff. Again, thanks to Ms. Trask, Mr. Noto, and their team for those additional conversations. And our understanding is that all other issues have been resolved to staff satisfaction. We do know that in the second supplemental recommendation, there was that reiterated condition of approval regarding the as-built survey following construction, and extraction fully commits to conducting that as-built for the location. So that concludes our supplemental presentation and walkthrough of these comments. Again, we thank you so much for your time, and we are here for any questions you have.
Great. Thank you for the continued presentation. At this time, the panel is open for questions from commissioners. Commissioner McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I actually don't have any questions. I just want to express my appreciation for going back and sharpening the pencils and trying to figure out how we first avoid and then minimize and mitigate to the best of our ability. I'm appreciative of changing up the tier 2 and just being more clear about the power sources and that estimated emissions reduction, and trying to get closer to an emissions profile that's similar to a tier 4. So I very much appreciate that, and checking in with the homeowner and ensuring that there's going to be constant communication, and they're kind of in the driver's seat about when they want to stop having communications with you, and making sure that everything's being done in a way that is minimal to disturbing their quality of life. And so I'm very appreciative that you went back to the drawing board and I'll just say sharpen the pencil again. So thank you.
Other questions or comments from commissioners? Commissioner Oath.
Yeah, just thank you. Would echo that, thank you for the updates and changes to your commitments. Just a really quick question. Just wondering when you expect that you will know whether or not a tier 4 engine is available.
I appreciate the question, Commissioner Oath. There is, let me back up for a second. We are continuing, or have continued, and will continue to chase, that tier 4 technology. As we've mentioned in this proceeding, as well as others, there are some supply chain constraints around sourcing that information, or that engine, excuse me. And thus, I don't have a clear timeline for you. The last, we have been told there's somewhere between an 8 and 12 month or more lead time for new build tier 4 engines. And so that's something that our drilling department, along with our supply chain group, is continuing to pursue. And if one is available when we intend to drill the wells at Koolstra, that is what we will employ.
Thanks for the clarification, Commissioner McGowan.
Sorry, and thank you. And correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like part of the conversation about why tier 2 were being used here was that I think that you all said you're trying to move to electrification and not wanting to build or use a tier 4 because that's not really what you're contemplating as for technology moving forward. Did I hear that right from last time, or did I misunderstand?
Appreciate the question, Commissioner McGowan. I don't recall the specifics, but generally speaking, yes, we are constantly looking to improve our technology to employ what we feel is the latest and greatest, and not only provides us with beneficial impacts to the environment or reduced emission profiles, but also affords us the opportunity to continue to develop our assets in a very efficient manner, in which an electrified drilling rig does. And so we will continue to pursue every option available to us in hopes of harnessing, the best available technology across our fleet.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Further questions, comments, dialogue? Anyone care to make a motion? Commissioner Messner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will make a motion. I'll make a comment before I make the motion that I agree with Commissioner McGowan. I do think it's good to see the pencils get sharpened, the communication improve between CIVITAS and staff, CIVITAS taking staff's feedback and employing it in the application. I think that it appears to me that there was a lot of lessons learned in this one, and that hopefully this can actually happen through the technical review process. It can happen through, continued communication and coordination with staff before it comes to the commission, so that we don't have to have continued hearings and we're not making last minute changes on these things. Inevitably, there could be last minute changes in any application, and I understand that, but to me, it was pretty clear what staff was asking for, and there was some pushback going on there as far as whether or not to employ some of the things that they're recommending. And I really appreciate in the end that we found, I think, a very creative solution to allow this application to move forward. And so, so with that, I would move approval of this docket. Let me get the docket number. Docket number 2208-00210, with the inclusion of the condition of approval that was found in the second supplemental director's recommendation.
I would
AG
second,
Mercer.
but it looks like Mercer, AG Mercer.
Yes, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Messner, if I might seek to just clarify that the motion for the record. So it's, as you stated, it would be approval of the application with the COA that Extraction has agreed to for the as-built post-construction survey in the director's recommendation. And then I have a list of other BMPs that have been agreed to along the way that I think should also be included in the motion, if I may.
Please go ahead.
So the first is the commitment for the drilling engine, which was the language in today's PowerPoint saying, if a tier 4 drilling engine is not available at the time of drilling, operator commits to utilizing a tier 2 drilling engine with natural gas power and battery assist to reduce emissions during drilling. If a tier 4 drilling engine is available at the time of drilling, operator commits to using the tier 4 drilling engine in lieu of the tier 2 drilling engine. The next is that for drilling mud, group 3 drilling mud will be used. Then the BMP regarding the traffic and noise BMP worked out with the homeowner. I will spare us all reading through that, but the language is in today's presentation. Then there were 3 ozone BMPs, which were on forecasted high ozone days. Extraction agreed to 1, eliminate use of VOC paints and solvents, 2, minimize vehicle and engine idling, and 3, reduce truck traffic and worker traffic. Just 2 more left. One is that Extraction will electrify the MLD 22A and HFE 22P pads with highline electric power and eliminate the tanks from the MLD 22A location, replacing those with instrument air and maintenance vessels. And finally, that Extraction commits to using SCADA and remote shut-in technology at the Koolstra location.
Thank you, AG Mercer, for keeping track. Commissioner Messner, are you comfortable with those friendly amendments?
Mr. Chair, I'm comfortable with the amendments. I guess it was my understanding that those were already included in the 2A.
I believe my understanding is that staff was waiting until the final discussion here today to, oh, sorry, I'm actually being corrected in real time by staff that those were already in there. So I suppose that was unnecessary. My apologies.
No problem. We've had several hearings on this. If those are already in there, then we just have the motion with the one condition of approval. We've now reiterated on the record that the other commitments are part of the 2A, so I think we're comfortable with that. Commissioner Cross, did you want a second?
Second.
Great. We now have a motion and a second and a clarified record. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. The docket is approved. Ms. Fulcher, thank you for you and your team's work on this. I also would be completely remiss if I did not thank staff for their continued efforts on this. This has been a doozy, and I'm glad that we got it to a spot that it is approvable by the commission, and a lot of that is attributed to the great work of Sabrina Trask and her staff. in the oil and gas location assessment permitting team. So thank you all for that. And with that, this is the only matter on the agenda this afternoon. We are meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. at our normal business agenda. So we will see you all there. And in order for us to be able to leave, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying adjourn. Adjourn. See you tomorrow, guys.